Hi guys, it's Tara and welcome back to Crafting with Curly Cues and day 3 of my Handmade Halloween 2016 video series. So today I have a really fun treat for you guys and I am doing a collaboration with fellow YouTuber Jasmine Burgess. So we decided to create some spooky Halloween backgrounds and then send them to each other and then create finished cards using the backgrounds that we sent. So I just showed you all the beautiful backgrounds she sent me. I was having a hard time figuring out which one I wanted to use, but I went with this one that to me looked like a spooky night sky. I loved the green in there. Um, and I decided to create a cemetery scene using some fabulous products from My Favorite Things. So to start, I am using that horizontal dynamics cover-up die there, and I've already cut that out of some Simon Says Stamp black cardstock, and then I just used a pencil to trace it onto this gorgeous background. I really wanted to make sure that those green spots were showing. It's so cool. It's like it's toxic ooze in the background. I don't know. I love it. So I really wanted that to be in my sky. So I made sure to cut it so that that was showing. And then I'm just going to go ahead and start putting this together a little bit as I go because I'm kind of wanting to make sure that everything is working out like I want it to. So I have a black card base from the same Simon Says Stamp black cardstock, and I'm just going to go ahead and adhere this background piece that I trimmed up right to the front of this card base. So I didn't like where I put it the first time, so I had to peel it up and start over. It doesn't go all the way down because I'm going to be covering the bottom, so I wasn't stressed about that, but I do want to make sure that the top is placed correctly. I cut it a little bit smaller than my trace lines just to make sure that it would hide behind that frame. And now I'm going to go ahead and create some grass for the ground of my cemetery. So I used the grassy borders dies from My Favorite Things, and I cut some, I said that hesitantly because I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, but it'll be listed in the products and supplies below. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out. But anyway, I cut that out of some Canson XL cold press watercolor paper, mostly just because watercolor paper blends distress inks really well, and I just wanted to make sure that this blended in really well. As you can see, I cut a couple pieces. So this big one that I'm doing right now is going to be my front panel with the main grass that you're going to see. And then the little one is just a little tiny because I just want a little bit of it showing in the back just to create some dimension. So it's obviously the scrap that came off the top of the first piece because it's got grass on both sides of it. Doesn't matter. The bottom's going to be hidden. So I decided just to make the most of my supplies and go ahead and use that remaining paper as opposed to getting out a new piece of watercolor cardstock. So I am using some crushed olive, that's the lighter green that I have there, and then some peeled paint over the top. I thought that it matched the toxic ooze sludge in the sky pretty well, so that was why I went with those colors. And then once they're all blended, I'm going to take my distress sprayer and spritz a little bit of water on there and then go ahead and blot that up with my paper towel to create a really fun mottled distress look in the ground, which of course adds to the creepiness of this cemetery. So I'm going to use my Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink and this absolutely adorable Grave Situation stamp set from My Favorite Things. Now, I gotta say guys, this stamp set is sold out like everywhere. I had to search all over the place to find this stamp set, but I found it. I found it at Butterfly Reflections Inc. in stock, so it is linked below. I linked to Simon Says Stamp also, even though they're currently sold out, just in case they get it back in. But Butterfly Reflections Inc. is linked below and over at my blog. So if you're interested in this stamp set before the Halloween season is over, you can pop over there and pick one up. So anyway, back to my Copic coloring. You can see I stamped a bunch of these graves and then I used the really fun sentiments that come to stamp on the graves that are these cute little puns, and did a different one on each grave. And then I'm coloring every single grave exactly the same with these 3 shades of warm gray. So I'm only going to show you, I think I'm going to show you 2 of these just to kind of give you a gist. I'm doing super sloppy Copic coloring, guys, because again, my scene is supposed to be kind of creepy, and I think it not being perfect adds to the little bit off-putting creepy feel of the whole like vibe. And I wanted to go with warm grays because I don't know. I thought it blended well with the like toxic sludge green, and I thought it just, I don't know, it seemed creepy to me. I don't know why I reached for warm grays instead of cool grays. I usually would do cool grays like for a stone type thing, but just, I don't know, something was calling to me about these warm grays. So I'm not being super careful about going over the design at the top because I know I'm going to go back over it later. I'm going outside the lines because I know I'm going to fussy cut these out. So this is like super sloppy, super down and dirty Copic coloring here. And like I said, all 5 of them colored exactly the same. So once I'm done with this one, I'm going to skip ahead and show you how I colored the adorable, creepy little crow that's sitting on top of this one headstone. So this is the only gravestone that only got stamped once because it has the crow on it, and I didn't want to have the crow like on a whole bunch of them. But I'm using the cool grays then to to color the crow in so that you have some difference between it and the headstones. So I'm just using 3 different shades of the cool grays to go ahead and color this black crow. And that little tiny spot in between the crow's legs, I actually went in later with a purple Spectrum Noir sparkle pen, and I colored in that little itty bitty spot in between his legs so that rather than having to fussy cut it out, I just made it blend in with the background. So that seemed to work fine, and you'll see in the photos later that you can't really tell that there's a difference there. So that was a good trick. So I lined the edge of these after I fussy cut them with my black soot distress marker so they look like they were cut out perfectly. And now I can start building my super fun, spooky graveyard scene. So I'm going to start by putting this small piece of grass behind because I want this one behind the frame, which I'm going to pop up. So I'm going to go ahead and figure out where I want that on the card. My frame is not adhered yet. I'm just placing it over the top to figure out where I want this, and then I'm going to trim off the excess here. I will say that I'm not using this cover up like to its full potential because I'm going to completely cover up that bottom hole there where it would be great to put a sentiment or something, but just for what I was doing, I just wanted the top part and it worked great. So I'm going to cover the front of that frame with some adhesive, and I'm covering the front because I'm going to put my grass on now, and the grass is going to stick on top of the front of that frame. So I'm just figuring out kind of where I want that front piece of grass. I used the same die to cut them both so they both have the same curve and whatever, so I wasn't super stressed about lining all that up. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim off the excess so that that lines up perfectly with my frame there. And oh, so cute, coming together. Don't you love the toxic sludge sky? I keep saying it, but oh my gosh. And the sparkle from, I'm guessing that's Perfect Pearls on there. Jasmine did a phenomenal job on these backgrounds, and this one in particular just stole my heart. Took my breath away. Love it. It's so much sparklier in person, like I can't even tell you. So I'm going to take my big Papa roll of Scotch foam tape here, and I am going to cut some super, super thin strips of this so that I can line that really thin frame that I got going on here so that I can pop it up. I don't need a whole ton because I only need the thin strips on the parts that aren't behind the grass because I can just put whatever I want behind the grass. So I didn't cut a whole ton of this these thin sections here because I knew I wouldn't need a whole bunch. And then I'm just going to go ahead and line the whole spot behind the grass so it's nice and supported. You always want to make sure that when you're popping stuff up, it's going to be able to go through the mail without like totally collapsing. So you want to just make sure you're generous with your foam tape, which is part of why I have the big Papa roll, because I don't want to have to feel like I have to be stingy with my foam tape. I want to be able to go to town when I'm foam taping. So now I'm going to go ahead and line that frame up on top of that background, and there is my little scene. So I think that looks so cool. Even like just by itself, I think it looks stinking cool and creepy and Halloween-y. So now I'm just kind of taking all my headstones and figuring out where I want them. And you can see I like created that little design, and then I was like, forget it. I'm just going to start putting them on there and see what happens. So I did kind of trim off some of them so I could tuck them behind that grass. I wanted it to look all kind of cattywampus and wonky. Again, I feel like that adds to the spookiness of the scene, like the fact that nothing is straight and everything's just kind of off, you know? Like, it totally, this card 100% reminds me of the line at the Haunted Mansion at Disney World. So if you guys have ever been there, there's all these headstones. They have punny little things on them. And the queue in that ride is amazing. There's like all this interactive stuff you can play with. It's just super, super fun. And everything's kind of wonky and off kilter, and it's just so much fun. And that's what inspired me for this card was like that, the Haunted Mansion ride at Disney World and the queue that you wait in before you get to go into it. So if you've been there, I hope that this channels it for you. It makes me want to go to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party. As you can tell, I am definitely jonesing for a Disney trip. It's been a year since we've been, and I'm ready to go back, like real bad. But anyway, back to my card. I put foam tape on the top of the ones that are in front and then some adhesive on the bottom just so that they could pop up on the top and then stick to the grass right on the bottom there. And the ones in the back I kind of cut off a little bit so that it could be tucked back in there. So I'm going to use a sentiment from the My Favorite Things Frightful Friends stamp set, another adorable Halloween one that I haven't gotten to use yet. So hopefully that will be coming in another video here soon. I have 2 more days of the Handmade Halloween series left. So I heat embossed that in white on a thin strip of this black cardstock and went ahead and just adhered that right on the ground there. I'm just using the simple Happy Haunting. Again, just keeping it nice and simple. I really want that gorgeous background to be the star of the show, which I think I accomplished pretty well because in person, everything else is cute, but it's not like, you know, it's the background that totally draws your eye. So anywho, so for these little skulls and designs that are on the headstones, I am taking a silver metallic jelly roll pen and I'm just going over the whole design. And then I'm going to come back once that has dried and I'm going to use my black glazed gel pen to add the little eyes back onto the little skulls. So that first one got kind of wonky. I don't think that my gel pen dried all the way, and so when I tried to go back over it with my gel pen, it was not having it with my glazed pen here. But I was able to fix it later when it dried better. But you can see that by adding that in with the glaze pen, the little eyes on those headstones like super pop, which is really fun. It makes it even more creepy, like the headstones are alive. I love it. And that is going to complete the card. Oh, wait a second. What am I going to do here? What am I doing? Wait. It does not complete the card because no Halloween card in my world is complete without some itty bitty bats from the Memory Box Batty Border die. So this is a little die that cuts these little itty bitty bats out, and I just happen to have some already cut because it's Halloween. So I have little bats cut out and like sitting on my desk. And so I had to add a couple bats to the background. This die has been like my favorite thing to play with at Halloween time. I'm not even kidding. I'm not on purpose this year adding them to every card, but they've ended up on, I think, 2 out of 3 so far. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the 2 that are left. But I think it just completes the scene to have them kind of flying in that sky back there. So now I am done with the card, and you can see up close how gorgeous that background is. I am just obsessed with it. There's a nice close-up of that background for you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this card. I had so much fun collaborating with Jasmine Burgess. And I hope that we can do it again soon. I'll link below to her YouTube channel, as well as here are a couple other Halloween videos from my last year's and this year's Halloween series. You can join me on social media using the links below, as well as finding all of the supplies that I used over at my blog and linked below in the description box. Bye, guys.